Hey, what is up? Welcome to this featured Friday episode of the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and I'll tell you what, I know that I say to you all in every single episode how freaking excited I am, but today's episode, I'm even more excited because we're being joined by an incredible marketing strategist, brilliant business mind, also an awesome person to connect with. I've had the pleasure of connecting with her before we hit record here for today's episode, and I'm going to be joined in today's episode. You're going to hear an awesome conversation with Louie Bischoff. She is originally from the Phoenix, Arizona area. She's the founder of Next Right Thing Marketing Solutions, which I even love her business name, The Next Right Thing, because she's on the cutting edge of marketing and paid advertising. We're going to dig so much into that. She's an expert in TikTok marketing for business. She has ninja level skills doing paid ads on social media. She has such a diverse set of experiences within the marketing and advertising worlds. She's been an account manager for Meta, which we all know more widely as Facebook. So she has crushed it with Facebook ads. In fact, let me tell you this statistic. She has managed a total of more than $20 million in small and medium-sized business advertising accounts for almost 3 years. She's incredible at what she does. She thinks outside of the box, and like I said, she's on the cutting edge. So you're in for a real treat today with my interview with Louie Bischoff. All right, Louie, officially welcome to the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast.
Hi, wow, I'm so it's just fabulous to be here. And I just love the opportunity to be able to communicate with you and tell people about some of my great knowledge and share that with people so that they can get better at being able to do business on TikTok or business on paid ads or business I'm here to help. So thank you, Brian. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Heck yeah, I love it. And gosh, did I know that you'd bring the energy in today's interview. And I'm so excited to see that even right out of the gates, you're here with me and I'm here for it. And I'm sure listeners are super excited about it. Louie, you heard me introduce you to listeners. And truth be told, this is particularly an interview I've been very excited about because even I really want to learn from you because you are on the cutting edge of all these different things. But fill in the gaps for listeners. What did I leave out in your bio? Who is Louie Bischoff?
Wow, great question. Thank you. What did you leave out? Well, not much. I was able to present information to you about my background and what you shared. I did work at Facebook Incorporated Meta for almost 3 years as an advertising account manager, which was fabulous because I learned a lot about different businesses, which was great. Lots of different verticals, lots of different industries. And I learned a lot about technology and the algorithms. So that was a fabulous opportunity. You did mention that the direction that I'm in now is that I'm an expert in using TikTok for your business as opposed to just being a customer. So one of the things that I feel comfortable standing in that space is that over the last 2 years, I've actually been on the back end of TikTok and meaning on the paid ad side. And that's actually allowed me to be invited into lots of different marketing panels and research panels by the TikTok people. Even to the extent that this past July, in July 2022, I was invited to a face-to-face in-person training in Austin, Texas. Only 35 marketers from the entire United States were invited in for this opportunity to work with the TikTok for Business people with the team. And it was just so amazing to sit there and be there and learn from them directly from the horse's mouth, as they say, about what are the best practices for showing up on TikTok as a business. So I really appreciate your introduction and I appreciate the opportunity. And I just wanted to say one more thing. I do have my MBA in international business with a focus on marketing. So I'm also showing up in that space with a strong background and a knowledge about just business acumen. So fabulous to be here and just such an opportunity to be able to, an honor and opportunity to be able to be here with you and with your guests and listeners.
Yeah, I love it, Louie. And honestly, I'm glad that you brought up as well your educational background and the way that that's synced with your professional career. Because to me, looking in, one of the things that really makes you stand out is that when I think of you and what you do, I don't only think of an ads specialist or an ads expert. I also think of a strategic marketer. I also think of somebody who understands business. And I know through private conversation with you, even before this interview, that you also master the human element. And I certainly can feel it being on the other side of interviewing you. So I really like how you combine those personal aspects with your broader understanding of business, diverse experiences you've lived and worked in Taiwan. I want to hear about your marketing story. How the heck did you gain these skills? Because of course we're going to dive into TikTok for business. We're going to open a lot of eyes here in the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur world today, but I want to hear how the heck you even got here in the first place.
Oh, wow. Okay. Great question. So, a little bit about how I got here in that marketing space. So, I will just summarize it and skip all the way background stuff and just kind of pick it up. You just mentioned that I lived overseas. So, I lived overseas in Asia. I lived in Taiwan, which is not getting into politics, but just kind of some people would say it's part of China. So it's definitely part of Chinese culture, Chinese people, Chinese language. And the reason why I mentioned that is I learned Mandarin when I was living there. I lived in Asia for 6 years. I came back to the United States and I went to business school. And while I was in business school, I had the opportunity to start working for Ping, the golf club company. And I mention that because my role working at Ping golf clubs is that I interfaced with the factories in China that were manufacturing the Ping products, not the golf clubs, but like the shirts or the hats and the accessories. So I was able to interface with the factories because I spoke Chinese and spoke Mandarin. And that's where I got started in marketing. Being able to start at a brand as amazing and as premium as Ping and be able to start there and learn so much and be able to be a category manager. And as a category manager, as a product manager in marketing, that's actually you've got full. I had full responsibility, for P&L responsibility for the product line. So that's how I got started. So I really appreciate that opportunity. From there, I had the opportunity to again be with another really, really great, strong brand. Some people may know it, some people may not. It's called Carhartt. It's a workwear company and it's located in Detroit. And my responsibilities there at Carhartt were again mostly on the accessories, so hats and gloves and tool belts and tool bags. So the workwear company, the focus is on like for construction workers or ranchers or farmers, that type of direction. And again, having that opportunity to be a category manager, product manager, having the full A to Z, soup to nuts responsibility for the P&L, for the profit and loss of that category. So it was really a great opportunity to be able to understand full business aspects with marketing and how all marketing is interrelated to all other pieces of the business. So
Yeah,
that's a little bit how I get started.
Yeah, no, I love that overview, Louie, because it gives us so much to dive into. And obviously, I'm excited for the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur world because I want to talk about small business marketing. And it's so interesting to hear how you did take it from these bigger brands, doing that internal sort of marketing where you've got bigger budgets, you've got increased revenues to play around with. And now I want to apply that to the smaller business thing. And I especially love, I said it in the intro, next right thing marketing solutions. I want to talk about that because I do view you as someone who's on the cutting edge of marketing. So translate all that stuff into the small business world for us. What is it why are we even talking about this stuff within the context of small business owners and your solo entrepreneurs who are near and dear to my heart? What is it about your skill set that translated to there? And what are some things that you've seen given your background that can really benefit entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I love that. So basically, take my background and like you said, people who don't have those large budgets or are just solopreneurs, like how do I take that or how do I use my information and help my clients, right? My background. So one of the great skills that I have is being able to take kind of these large ideas and then break them down into like little bites, little appetizers that clients and SMBs and small businesses, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, they can start to be able to understand. So one of the things that you touched on, and one of the things that, hey, how do I get started as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, is just that aspect. And I don't want to be like just that aspect, like it's so simple, but it's strategy. So being able to communicate in a collaborative way with my clients, like, hey, let's figure out where do we want to go, like in 6 months or in 12 months or 18 months? What is the strategy? And there's not one strategy that's going to work. It's, in my experience, it has to be dynamic. And I don't mean it's not going to work, but it's dynamic and that it's going to change. And being able, what are some direct action steps? Again, in my experience, is having a direction, having the roadmap, having the strategy, and then being able to implement that in a phase 1 or phase 2. Here's a small example. A new client that I just brought on board, they are a new housing community here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And they know that I am really strong on TikTok, being an expert in the TikTok for business. However, where we're going to start is phase 1. Like, we don't need to do it all together at the same time. Phase 1 is actually going to be like being able to get started with paid ads on Facebook and building up brand awareness. Then phase 2, we're going to move over into a new direction and over to TikTok. So what are some direct action steps? One is, have some, it sounds cliche, but it's not cliche. It's have a roadmap, give yourself some grace, be dynamic, have a phase 1 and then a phase 2 or phase 3 or steps, and being able to, the reason why I named my company Next Right Thing is to keep continuing to do the next right thing to move your business forward. A lot of times with solopreneurs, Brian, and I don't know if you find this, or entrepreneurs, it's like, oh my gosh, I feel like overwhelmed. There's so many things. Where do I get started? And we just have to have the next right thing and work with other professionals or work with other people who will support your vision in that direction. So there are a few steps right there, action steps. Work with professionals, surround yourself with support. Make sure it's just like one little step, then another step. Give yourself grace. Don't be overwhelmed. Have a roadmap, strategy, and then be able to implement just small little things at a time, like I was mentioning with my new client.
Yeah, and listeners of the show will obviously know that I'm a big sucker for quotes, and hearing you talk about this is, Louie, my favorite marketers, my favorite business minds are the ones who break things down into these simple steps. Like the Albert Einstein quote, if you want to impress someone, make it complicated, but if you want to help someone, make it simple. And so hearing you talk about these steps, it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, which is a Martin Luther King Jr. quote, where he says, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. And I think that you'll share this in agreement with me, is that most smaller entrepreneurs, most solopreneurs, beginner entrepreneurs, they don't necessarily have that strategy. And they're listening to you say this and they're saying, well, Louie, yeah, I get it. I wish I had a strategy, but I don't even know what a strategy is. I don't even know where to start. Do I start with my customer avatar? Do I start with the channels that I should be on, whether it's Facebook or TikTok? How would you answer that big, broad question, and a scary question for a lot of people of, well, where the heck do I even start coming up with a strategy?
It is scary and it's intimidating, overwhelming. It's like, where do I start? And I love that idea of what you just said, right? Where do I start? Do I start by thinking about the avatar? Do I start by thinking about who I'm going to serve? I love that as a beginning point, because in my mind, I do need to envision who I'm going to help. And who does that person, right? What are some of their demographics? Okay, how old are they? Are they male, female? What is their income, right? The typical demographics. However, and I'll get to a couple other steps. However, where I find that the truth starts to come out when you're building that avatar is those psychographics. So those psychographics, that's kind of getting into kind of like who they are as a person. What do they like? What are they reading? What are they watching on Netflix? What are some of their thinking directions? Who are they paying attention to? So being able to start to kind of get into the shoes of your avatar, I love that as a great starting point. As another step to take, and I know that everyone's going to be like, I've heard this before, but any of your listeners who are listening, these are people who are already taking action because they're listening to being able to learn more information. So that's a great another action step, is reaching out to other people for help and direction and expertise. One of the things that I always tell people that I mentor, Brian, is that if all you're doing is breathing your own air, then all you're doing is breathing your own air. And I need fresh air. So when I work with other people and they give me their input, they give me their expertise, I start to get fresh air. I start to get new ideas. I start to feel more empowered and more hopeful. One of the things I can just say for myself, I was walking around with just different ideas in my head. And I started working with a business coach, and I started working with like masterminds and other entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs like me. And that's when, for me, I started to be able to get things out of my head and onto paper. So, just kind of a couple quick tips, right? Is start with your avatar, not just keep it in your head, but write it down on a piece of paper. Draw the person out. What do they like? Just put little like bullet points around them. What are they thinking? How old are they? How many kids do they have? What kind of car they drive? That's a great starting point. And then being able to start again, getting it out of your head and sketching it down. I just know for myself, once I started literally getting it out of my head and putting it on paper by working with others and breathing that fresh air, that's when I was able to start to create that direction, the strategy, the direction, the roadmap, so that I felt better in the direction I was going. So those are a few of the tips right there.
Yeah, I love those tips, especially because they are actionable for entrepreneurs. And you're right, a lot of them sound like cliches because people have heard these, but why the heck aren't they taking action on these? So you listeners are hearing it directly from Louie, and we're about to dive into her ninja level paid marketing skills and paid advertising skills. And I'm going to ask some big questions surrounding that, but it truly is, this stuff is not meant to be cliche. They're not meant to be empty words that you hear in business classrooms, on business podcasts, at business conferences. There's a reason why people pay a lot of money and hear advice like this. It's because this advice works. So Louie, I do want to transition to some of those ninja level advertising skills that people can't hear anywhere else because you are at the cutting edge of this stuff. And I want to start with this big question because what's always interesting to me in talking to entrepreneurs is that we always convince ourselves that, yeah, I get that this stuff works for other businesses, but my business is somehow different. And I'm sure that you agree with me in this, is that yes, businesses are unique, but ultimately the frameworks of marketing, the psychology behind marketing, the platforms and channels may change over time, but marketing has remained the same since the cavemen days. Have something that people want and have a way of getting it in front of them. So I want to ask you this question before people disregard TikTok as a channel. I want to ask you this question. What types of businesses is TikTok advertising right for, and which types of businesses or products or services is TikTok not right for?
Oh wow, what a fabulous question. What kind of businesses is TikTok good for or right for? What kind of businesses is TikTok not good for or right for? So let me kind of just give you a couple different pieces of data or statistics that may kind of change your mind a little bit, Brian, or any of your listeners. So in the United States, 32.1%, let me say that again, 32.1% of TikTok users in the United States are over the age of 40. Over the age of 40. They're not 12, they're not 15, they're not 25-year-olds, they're not 30-year-olds. Almost 1/3 of the users on TikTok in the United States are over the age of 40. So what does that mean to me as a business? Well, first of all, that means to me that one, other businesses are on there. Two, my competitors are probably on there. So if they are, I should probably be too. And then three, most importantly, like you were asking, if I'm a business, what is TikTok good for me as a business? So I'll take the simple direction first and I'll say product based, right? Tangible based e-commerce. You have an online shop at Shopify or any type of online shopping. So that's kind of easy, right? I don't know if any of your listeners have known this or if you're on TikTok, but one of the most popular hashtags on TikTok is hashtag TikTok made me buy it. And that's for a lot of product-based products, companies. being able to see the product, click on it and buy, right? You know, that $5 bottle of hair gel, that $5 little cute bracelet, that $5 get strong kind of activity or sports type of equipment. Okay, so maybe some of your listeners, or maybe a lot of your listeners, so I was just saying, like, for any kind of business, that's a product. Like, that makes sense. But maybe some of your listeners, or a lot of your listeners, are service-based. Like, I'm a service-based person. Let me tell you that, like, as a quick thing, and I'll come back to that 1 second, I use TikTok as a user, and service-based, specifically service, carpet cleaning, service-based company here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Click on that and I become a lead. I'm like, I need my carpets cleaned. I click on that and they called me the next day. That's a service-based company. So for me, like a service-based company that's more like knowledge and directed, what do I use TikTok for? I use TikTok to do edutainment, as the word is, be able to educate people about my expertise, be able to help people about being able to learn how to do this. 3 tips on how to get, for example, 3 tips on how to get to 1,000 followers on TikTok, right? Being able to have actionable directions, not just being on there as just like, hey, here's me just walking down the street, but for me, being able to show up as a business and add value. So back to your question, like, what is TikTok good for as a business and not good for? I would say, again, if you're product based and if you're service based, and if any of your clients or your customers are between the ages of 18 to 98, that may be a really great place. And the last thing I'll say about that question is the reason why this is just my opinion, and I know that there's background data to back it up, but the reason why I think TikTok is so successful is because it's literally person to person. You mentioned about hey, marketing goes back to the caveman days. Well, if we just think about like back in the day, so to speak, people tell stories, people receive stories, and people respond to stories. TikTok is simply a storytelling platform with one human to another, person to person, telling a story through a video or through talking or through dancing, whatever that story is. So what's your story for your business or your offer or your consulting or your products? What's your story? Get out there and tell people about it, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok. Like, tell your story. People love stories and to interact with other humans. So those are some of the main things.
Yeah, and for all of you listeners, go back and listen to Louie's answer to that question, because what you're going to realize is that these are the fundamentals, these are the principles of successful marketing, whatever the channel is. So we're talking right now with regards to TikTok, for example, as a social media channel, but all of these things, storytelling, showing people your stuff in action. She talked about the carpet cleaning business. That's a great example of how to do marketing right, because Louie's right. Everybody else is out there already saying, hey, I'm me, this is what I do, I hope you like it. And that's not going to cut it in 2022 and beyond. So Louie, you see better than most people when it comes to TikTok. You mentioned it. How many people are on TikTok, and myself included? I do love TikTok as a channel. So I want to ask you this question, because you see it through a different lens, through a much wiser, more skilled lens than most people. Since so many people are jumping onto TikTok, surely a lot of them are doing it incorrectly. They're not getting results. They're pounding their head against the wall going, what the heck? How do I make this work? Because I know it's working for other people. So it's a 2-part question for you. 1, what do you see people messing up on TikTok? And 2, what should they be doing to get it right?
Oh, fabulous, right? What can I do better? And then how can I do things so I can start to get it right? So let me answer the second part first. And I'm going to go ahead and communicate specific action steps. So these are 3 must-know tips on how to have business success on TikTok. So 3 must-know tips. So firstly, make sure that you're a business, then choose a business account to have as your business presentation there. Now, what I mean by that is if you're going into TikTok and you're setting up your TikTok, you can choose, do I want to be a personal account or a business? So I recommend to people to be businesses because you have access to other functionality, specifically to more data and analytics, and to paid ads. And I am going to come back to paid ads in a second because I am ninja level skills at being a paid ads on social media. So being able to have access to that. The downside of a business account is you just don't have access to the quote unquote trending music. Again, I'll come back to that in a second. That's really not a downside. There's more upside to having a business account. So that's one of the first tips, have a business account. The second tip, how do I get more reach from my videos, or how do I get more, how do more people find me? So this sounds really simple, but I'm just going to hammer this home, Brian, is that use captions. Use captions on your videos. You don't know how many people have the opportunity to, like, they're sitting somewhere and they have to have sound off. So be able to use captions so that people can read your content, number one. And then number two, that captions, when you're using those captions and those keywords, those captions are searchable for SEO, for search engine optimization, and on Google. So it's 2 for 1. People can read my message when I'm using captions, and those words are searchable. So that's so easy to be able to do. So that's going to help you get started better on TikTok also. And then the last thing I want to mention, and I'll still come back to like, what are people doing incorrectly? But the last tip that I want to mention on what are 3 tips that are must-know tips for business success on TikTok. And I do have a download on this on my website at nextrightthingmarketingsolutions.com, is get involved with and do paid ads. So I'm going to say real quickly on paid ads, and this is actually going to come back to what are people not doing correctly on TikTok. Your question that you asked me for the first one is that, I'm just going to come out and say this, is that people with those views, we've all heard it about people posting a video, businesses posting a video on TikTok, and they get 40,000 views, 400,000 views, 4 million types of views. Okay, those days are going away. So that's basically kind of a marketing trick. And I don't really want to say trick, but I'll just use the word trick. That's a marketing trick of give it away for free and then charge for it later. So that's 100% of the marketing go-to-market direction that TikTok has used. It's giving away the views for free and then charge for it later. So they're changing the algorithm. I was just reading on Wall Street Journal an information that TikTok continues to operate at a loss, which has been their business model, their business direction, their strategy. However, they are going to flip that and they're going to start changing that, giving it away for free, right? All of those views, all of that reach, all of that, wow, oh my gosh, 4 million views. That's going to start kind of turning down the volume because the platform needs to be monetized. It's a use for free platform, as Facebook is, as Instagram is, as LinkedIn is, as YouTube is for the most part. They're used for free. So how do they monetize this as a business? It's for the paid ads. So I didn't want to like just leave you like, hey, it's a great platform. Hang out there. You're going to have success. You can have success. I'm just communicating that it's not just going to be that grab and go, getting so drunk, so to speak, off of all these video views. The algorithm's changing, the volume's being turned down, and paid ads are going to be a direction, just like Facebook, just like Instagram, just like the other platforms, in the direction you want to go. So I wanted to come back real quickly to one of the things I mentioned before about the music and trending music as a business. So it's okay if you're not using those like number one music trends that are happening, because again, the algorithm's changing and those trends are going to be, again, the volume's going to be turning down. They're not going to be as trendy. So have a business account, show up and use your captions, and feel comfortable or work with professionals like me on paid ads. So those are 3 of the main must know tips for business success on TikTok. Now, going back to your question on what do people do wrong, and I'll just simply say the biggest thing that I see that people do wrong is that they just feel scared to get started. I don't want to make a video. I don't want to dance. I don't want to be silly. You don't need to be face to camera. You don't need to make a video. You don't, excuse me, you do need to be on video, but it doesn't need to be you. And you don't need to dance. The first step, like you said, Brian, for yourself, like, is you be a consumer. Hashtag your business, hashtag your industry. See what other people are doing. Don't worry about getting started, and then just get started. So that's the biggest mistake, is just the fear about getting started and then going forward to get over that. So that's the biggest mistake I see.
Yeah, I love all those tips. Holy cow. This is why I love podcasting, because this is a recording for every single listener. Go back, listen to Louie's answer to that. You're going to want to listen to it multiple times, because those 3 actionable tips that she just gave you are so crucial to succeed with. And Louie, I'm going to call you out for something that I absolutely love about the way that you operate, and that is a big theme in our content here on the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast in 2022 has been to level set expectations. I think way too many gurus out there are saying, hey, just use TikTok. Gary Vee is guilty of this for sure. He says, upload 4 videos a day and you're going to crush it. And it's not necessarily true in today's world. So I love how you level set, and you said, you got to understand the game, and you have to play the game according to where it's going and where it currently is. And you really specify that as, yeah, you're not going to hit a home run. You can't just blindly upload videos with no real strategy, with no real business marketing foundation and fundamentals and expect success. It doesn't happen anymore. And you're right. Gone are the days where you can upload a Mr. Beast, for example, one of the biggest YouTubers in history. I went back on his channel and saw his earliest videos where he just read the dictionary from start to finish. Long gone, and he got millions of views. Long gone are the days where you can just upload random content like that with no reputation and get views. So I really love the way you level set there. Louie, there's so many things that we could dive into, and I'm totally going to peer pressure you for us to do a part 2 interview at some point within the next few months. But I do want to say, because listeners are obviously learning so much from you, so before we close things out, and I want you so desperately to tell listeners about the download that you have available to them, because I want them to turn this into an actionable way for them to take strategy. But the big question for me is when it comes to any form of advertising, and this is where I think your experience and your history comes in, is obviously we need to talk about conversions. So for all the entrepreneurs out there saying, well, Louie, that sounds really cool. I'm going to start looking into this stuff. I'm going to grab your download on your website, which you're going to tell us a little bit more about in a second. But their question might be, how the heck do I turn this into sales? What does that look like? Are we supposed to make videos on TikTok saying, hey, buy my stuff? Or is there a better way to convert? Because conversions are what marketing is all about.
Yeah. So, right, I'm in business to be in business, and it feels really nice to have lots of different views, that 4,000 views or 40,000, like, it feels really nice. However, as you said, that may not convert. It doesn't get me clients. So I'm in business to be in business. So your question, the answer is yes. And so when you're doing videos, right, what is your call to action? Is it follow me for more tips? Is it go and download? Is it go link and buy, right? Do your call to action. Are you having a webinar coming up? So let me tell you about one of my clients. She's 62 years old. She has her PhD. She's a relationship therapist. She has been in her marriage with her wife for 18 years. And I've been working with her since 2017. It's now 2022. I keep telling her, like, you've got to be on TikTok. Like, you're going to, like, people need you on TikTok. No, I don't want to be on TikTok. I'm 62. I'm not. Okay. All of that. So back to your question for conversions. So she had a free webinar, which we all are familiar with that as a lead magnet or a way to have as our funnel, having a free webinar. And she was like, hey, come, here's my landing page for the webinar. Click here, DM me. And she was talking about that 3 weeks, just 3 weeks, not 2 months, not a whole lot, 3 weeks on TikTok. She started talking about that. And when she ran her webinar, 150 lesbian women were signed up specifically. That's a conversion. Once they get into her webinar, right, she's got to sell them. 150 people signed up for her webinar. Back to your question, how else can I do that? Well, this is yes and. So that wasn't the only thing that I was doing with her that we were doing, is we were also running ads, back to the people so that we would have like warm targeting, and we would have, hey, we know that you came and you were interested, right? The kind of that marketing 101 thing. So how do I get more conversions? How do I get more sales? How do I get more leads? Is being able, yes, these work, and being able to work with professionals like me, Louie Bischoff, and Next Right Thing Marketing Solutions, and being able to have a strategy and have those ad products. Now, I'm not just saying like you have to spend for ad money dollars in your budget, but yes, and so when you have organic direction, you have organic growth, you have organic direction plus paid ads, that is when you are superpowering your business. That's when you're leveling up and being able to go forward. You mentioned something earlier, Brian, about managed expectations. So that's another huge thing. So I was saying 150 people signed up. That is true. However, when I work with her, 40 people showed up to the webinar. Now, that's not on me. That's not on her. That's not on anything. But just again, working on managed expectations with clients. So understanding, yes, they can convert. If you're trying to sell estate planning, that conversion cycle is a lot longer. So working with managed expectations, but getting those leads in. I was talking about, I'm working with a new client that's a housing community. Those houses are $1 million houses. That's not an impulse buy item. So working with them again on managed expectations, but we're going to be on TikTok bringing in qualified leads that their sales team can follow up on. So I hope that helps.
Heck yeah, I love that overview, and perhaps one of my favorite things here on the show is real life examples. So the example that you gave of getting all of those webinar signups, that is huge. And to put that into dollar terms for people, for example, I've seen webinar signups where people pay sometimes as high as $30 per webinar sign up from Facebook ads. So to be able to use TikTok as a platform and get a highly targeted, because the TikTok algorithm is incredible. I swear it knows everything about all of my passions. So to be able to do that on TikTok saves business owners literally thousands of dollars by knowing what they're doing when it comes to success on TikTok as a platform. Louie, we could talk about so many things, but at this point, I want you to share with listeners how the heck they can get more from you, where they should be following you, and gosh, do I want you to tell them, I'm on your website right now. I see the 5 must-know tips for business success on TikTok. I want you to talk about that resource, other resources, and I'm also going to add a little bit before you even tell people why they should check out your website. I'm going to add, as someone who loves your business and loves what you do, and I'm going to let people know that go to Louie's website because she also has a bunch of awesome resources. So in addition to perhaps working with her, you also have the opportunity to see what her courses are that she offers. If you're just starting out, download her freebie so that you can engage in a conversation with her. And then you never know how good it is to have an expert in your corner. So Louie, take it away from here. Tell listeners where they can follow you, what they should do to grab that free download.
I'm so excited. Like, this is the fun. Well, the whole thing is the fun part, Brian, right? But this is the fun, because how can more people find me? Not so that I can do more business, but so I can help more people. So here's the easy part. Brian's going to put my information, my name on there, but you can find me on TikTok at Louie_Bischoff. You can find me on TikTok, right? You can find me on Instagram at Louie_Bischoff. You can find me on LinkedIn at Louie Bischoff. You can find me on my website. It's NRT, Next Right Thing, nrtmarketingsolutions.com. That's where you can find me. And as Brian just mentioned, my PDF, my freebie, my download is the 5 must-know, right? Must-know tips for business success on TikTok. That gets you started. I also have a $97 course. I call it the Social Club. And each one of those letters of the word social is an area of learning. And that gets you started also. So in my Next Right Thing, TikTok for Business Blueprint Social Club, learn about setup, learn about the overview of TikTok, learn about content, learn about what do you do in the in-app, what do you do about launching paid ads. So I'm here to be able to help you and get you started, because Brian, you asked me, like, where do I see people making mistakes or what happens? It's just getting started, because people just don't know where to start. So I'm here to help people get started. And if you're already there and you're more advanced, like, let's work together on your paid ad strategy. Let's work together on what does this look like as you move forward into 2023 and you want to do something different. And how do you do something different against away from what your competitors are doing? Or what do you do different for yourself to grow your business, to do the next right thing, to keep moving your business forward? So those are some of the areas to be able to find me. Again, is at Louie Bischoff, Louie_Bischoff on TikTok, at Louie_Bischoff on Instagram, and Louie Bischoff on LinkedIn. I also have my link tree, and then on my website at nrtmarketingsolutions.com. So it's just wonderful. Thank you so much for that opportunity to tell people how I can help them.
Heck yeah, I love it. So seriously, every single one of you, you heard it from Louie. Follow her on all the social channels. She also has incredible energy that you're just going to want to be surrounded by awesome entrepreneurs like Louie. So definitely go find her on all the different social media platforms and take her up on her offer of her free ebook. You do not want to miss that. Go to nrtmarketingsolutions.com. And the good news is, if you're on the go, of course, we've got all these links down for you in the show description, in the show notes. So don't be shy. Hit those links up. Otherwise, Louie, I'm a big fan of all the things that you do and how you're on the cutting edge. So thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us here on the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast.
Yeah, you offer such a great service out to people and being able to help them and provide them with services and solutions, Brian. What an honor to be here and to be part of this as well. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Louie.